Hey, did you see the New York Times just released their top 100 movies of the 21st century list? What a remarkable 25 years it's been. Parasite beat out Mulholland Drive for the top spot. We got Fellowship of the Ring, Pan's Labyrinth, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So many masterpieces. Maybe cinema isn't dead.
Anyway, we're going to talk about M3gan 2.0.
Maybe they released their list prematurely.
You remember what happened last time. You threatened to rip out my tongue and put me in a wheelchair.
I was upset.
Do you need your cookie craving taken care of? Insomnia Cookies is baked to slay with their M3gan 2.0 Sugar Slay Cookie. It's basically a normal sugar cookie, but they put pink sprinkles on it and filled it with pink buttercream. Want something a little more? Why not get the M3gan's Cookie Witch 2.0, a scoop of purple s'mores ice cream between two M3gan Sugar Slay cookies. It's safe to say the witch is back. M3gan 2.0, warm, delicious, delivered. I was gonna get one of those cookies.
I was walking down the street on the way to see this film, and I did not know that Insomnia Cookies was like a thing. There's Midnight Cookies, I think, and now there's many like sleep deprivation based cookie companies, I guess. But I was walking down and there's this sandwich board, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I thought I was losing my mind.
M3gan is everywhere.
I can't.
She hijacked the ad. I was actually going to get the M3gan Sugar Slay cookie, and I was going to have it so we could review it for the podcast here. We would have our very first cookie review. But I forgot. I forgot.
There goes our sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah. We are not sponsored by Insomnia Cookies. We have to make that very clear. They get that ad read for free. Do you know that they actually, apparently this is, like, Insomnia Cookies has a thing going with Blumhouse, because a couple years ago they also did a Five Nights at Freddy's cookie pizza.
A cookie pizza?
A cookie pizza.
Oh God, that sounds horrifying.
Because, you know. Well, I mean, you know, it's just like it's a cookie, but then they put, like, frosting and decorations on it. Anyways, M3gan 2.0.
M3gan 2.0.
What an intro there. So, but yes, we went to see this movie. It's been a little while since our last one. I got a little overwhelmed with things. I had to take a week, but luckily, that positions us to talk about the true best picture of the year.
Mm-hmm. We might have missed the beginning of Hot Pedro Summer, but now M3gan's here.
M3gan. She's back. And, so how do you want to go about this? Because I was thinking, do you want to talk about, we'll briefly talk about the first movie, kind of like our thoughts there, and then start digging into this one?
Yeah, that sounds good. Just gonna take it apart. It's not like it's the most complicated situation.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of what you see on the box, or it's like, you know, Blumhouse, they make, like a dozen movies a year, and maybe like one or two of them stick, but a lot of them are just like, we make these things for like $3 million
right
a budget. It's like, if it bombs, like they pretty much, they don't bomb.
Right. There's no way it's gonna make back its money.
But
and then some.
Yeah. But I remember when the first M3gan came out, and it was one of those ones that I think did manage to stand out from the pack with Blumhouse's stuff. Not necessarily because it was particularly great, but because it was just very extra in a way that was a lot of fun.
I will say that at least in like a, let's just say like post-pandemic lockdown period, I have seen a total of one movie more than twice in the theaters, and that was M3gan. Like, not Sinners, not, you know, none of that. Fucking
oh my
M3gan.
Because there's something very, I don't know, there's something very endearing about the way that it's like, it is kind of silly, but at the same time, it had, like, you know, it still told a story that's kind of like, you could get into it, had some stuff going on. And what I found curious, though, when they decided to make a sequel, when was the last time Blumhouse made a sequel to one of their movies? Like, there was... Because they have the Conjuring franchise, that
right.
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that kind of died.
Did
Insidious, is that them?
I think Insidious might... It's either
They
Insidious
all
is
kind of
either
blend
them
together.
or
Yeah.
Twisted Pictures.
Oh, I forgot about those guys. Yeah, I feel like there are, like, they're large, like, with, like, the whole Ed and Lorraine Warren saga being, like, their big tentpole. But, yeah, like, outside of that, they pretty much are one and done.
Yeah. And, and even when they do stuff like, it's all the horror movies. So this feels like a little bit of a curveball for them. Because M3gan 2.0 is not a horror movie.
No.
No, it's like... It's very much kind of like an action adventure thriller, but that might be... As much as you might say, like, the Sonic movie is a thriller, I guess.
They very much did the, like, Terminator to Terminator Judgment Day / like Alien to Aliens pathway, where you go from, like, a horror film with an original concept and then you pivot to, like, action adventure with a little bit of that residual horror.
Yeah, it's like there's like a little bit of it, but a lot of this in this one is we'll kind of get into. Well, I guess this isn't spoilers. I like stuff that's in the trailer. So there's this new evil robot that's going around, and like, she was like a military prototype, and then she goes rogue, and she's killing people, and like she has her own mission, and she's kind of like one by one killing off the people who were involved in making her, and that includes. I don't remember her name. Hold on a second.
Gemma, I think.
Gemma, who is the aunt of Katie, and who had made M3gan. Now the new robot Amelia is coming after Gemma, and M3gan is like, oh, that's gonna hurt Katie and everything. So I'm going to try to basically install myself as your protectors, and then just things kind of start going from there. And I think one of the things that's interesting is that with this kind of pivot, a lot of it is like, how do you sell that with the character and everything? But also, just like, as you start trying to embrace this fun, campy energy, how well does the movie do that? And I would say, like, for the first little bit, when it's just, Gemma and Katie trying to set up this thing, like, oh, Gemma's trying to, like, lead this crusade about how robots and AI can be dangerous, but that means that she doesn't have a lot of time for her niece. That's, they're trying to set up, like, the emotional crux of the movie, but I have to be honest, like, that kind of thing didn't really win me over all that much.
Yeah, anytime it's just Katie and Gemma, or especially when it's just Gemma by herself, I kind of start being like, okay, well, when's M3gan gonna show up again? Because she's why I'm here. And yeah, it does kind of, at the beginning, it kind of pads out. I think it's, like, interesting to say, okay, like, how are we going to react to the fallout of the first one, right? And so they do a lot of just front loading with, like, okay, they're in San Francisco Bay Area now, they're, new job, now she's totally swung her pendulum the complete opposite direction, is now very, like, pro, like, I don't know, ethical AI, thing, whereas she was essentially like an iPad mom in the previous one, or an iPad aunt or something. But it's just like, okay, I don't need 8,000 like news reports up front to, like, let's just cut to the chase. Like, we're not looking for a courtroom drama. We're looking for, Megan doing her thing.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, like, you always have to, how do you kind of pivot the genre there? How do you pivot Megan to become essentially an ally to the protagonist after she was the big bad of the previous movie?
Right.
And, yeah, so you gotta set all that stuff up. And I do have to say, like, once Megan, like, enters the picture, then the movie, I was like, all right, now this is what I'm here for. Kind of like the crazy kind of like antics and everything.
Right.
And I think the movie did end up selling that really well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like once we get to like the robot hunting me, Megan's gonna put a stop to it. Like, we're cooking with fire here. We're off to the races. Let's go.
And I'd really appreciate there was a lot of you could tell there's a lot of practical effects being used here. Like when we see, because some of the setup, you can tell, like, they are like trying to rush it out. It's like, oh, you never met your landlord with this house here, and then it turns out that it's Megan who like had like a secret like shell company or whatever, had like this house and like had installed all this underground bunker.
Right. Safe house.
And you can tell, like, at a certain point there was some hand waving that was going on where they're like, how did you like afford all this? So it's like, Katie doesn't need to know how credit fraud works. And that's kind of all we need. Like, you can just play it off as a joke. That's fine for this kind of movie.
Right. What was your take on the like tech billionaire side detour dogleg Jemaine Clement is not Elon Musk thing?
He was, I don't know, like, he was a character. He kind of came in, he did his thing. I have to say, like the way that Amelia took him down, because like Amelia comes in because they're trying to get to him because like, oh, he would have information about her. That's kind of like the first step that Megan directs Gemma to do. So trying to get to him, but Amelia gets to him first, and he has all these cybernetic implants, and she manages to hack into his implants and change his vision to be her eyes. And he's basically seeing himself in third person. I was like, that would actually be kind of a fucked up thing to do to someone.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, that was, again, something where like, holy shit, that's like, a fun idea, fun concept. I don't know if I have any particular thoughts about him. He's like, came in, he had his role to fill, and then he died.
Yeah. It's like, all right, maybe don't get brain chips. Okay, duly noted.
Yeah, like, I think that's just kind of it. Like a lot of this movie, most of the time when we talk about movies, it's like, oh, I want to dig into, like, the deep themes and everything. I don't think that... Megan doesn't really have any themes outside of, like, hey, AI can be dangerous. Care for your family.
It's like, Ready Player One minus all of the references and IP dropping.
Oh, Ready Player One. Why do you have to remind me that
just
movie
invoke
exists?
that nightmare casually.
A movie and the book. Oh no. Watch, we're gonna get people who unsubscribe now because we don't like Ready Player One.
I'm sure Spielberg would survive.
But yeah, it's like, so I think a lot of this is just coming down to how well does it tell an entertaining tale, so to say.
Yeah. One thing that I was a little nervous about going into it was I knew that it was going to be a tonal shift, which was like, okay, this will be interesting to see how they handle that. But like, when I was seeing like, not so much the trailer, but like all of the kind of secondary promotional stuff, like the AMC, don't talk during the movie thing. They've now been using that as another opportunity for ad revenue, because God knows there aren't enough trailers up front. Like, the copy for that, like, spiel was pretty, like, you're not expecting, like, sparkling comedic writing, but it was pretty, like, oh boy. And then, like, they had, like, a letterbox, and Megan gave her top 4 review or whatever, and that was like, okay, well, an intern spent 35 seconds writing that. And I was just like, okay, is this going to be kind of the like kind of where we're at with the rest of the writing? But I do think that, especially anytime Megan's on the screen, the first movie was like tongue-in-cheek, but it wasn't trying to be a horror comedy. It was more just kind of the situational absurdity of it all. And it seems like, by and large, they kind of understood that moving forward, and it's more overtly comedic, but it's not like glancing nervously over at the audience to being like, are you laughing?
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where, I think the most famous thing from that first movie was Megan dancing in the hallway as she's about to kill someone, right?
Right.
And that's probably like the most, again, the most overt part of that movie, where like, what the hell is going on? And you kind of laugh at it because, like, this robot's doing this crazy shit.
Yeah.
And, like you said, the marketing for this kind of felt a bit like, like, oh, Slay Queen.
Right.
And I noticed there were some clips from the trailer that didn't even make it into the movie.
It's always
like,
interesting to see. Like, ooh.
I very distinctly remember there's a guy who, like, has, like, a Megan sign or something, and he's like, oh, she is a smoking hot warrior princess.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not in this movie at all. Nothing like that. I wonder if, like, there might have been
like a new Mandela effect, but for cut trailer scenes.
The Magdala effect.
God.
If they did that with the Artemis Fowl movie, it would just be the entire trailer is just not in the movie.
Rogue One.
But yeah, so I was afraid like it might go like a little like too far into being too what's the word I'm looking for? Too self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like, because it would really have taken the fun out of it if it felt too much like Megan like is in on the joke. If the studio's in on the joke, is like, hey, aren't I fabulous, guys? And you're just like, oh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a good job at keeping themselves scaled back a little bit, keeping themselves, and keeping Megan at a point where she still does like kind of goofy, absurd stuff, but it doesn't feel like she's trying to be funny. It's more just like, a robot's trying to process what's going on with like a little bit of that sarcasm to her.
Right. Like, the most important comedic through line in this film is in the first one. I don't remember the exact context, but she decides that singing Titanium by Sia with her weird little auto-tuned voice is like the right thing to do, and it's just so utterly bizarre and comes out of complete nowhere and then never happens again in that film. That's like incredible. And then this time around we get like the best needle drop of the 21st century, where we just all of a sudden, it's time for some Kate Bush, guys. Like, fuck you, Stranger Things. Like, you're gonna listen to that.
I think one of my favorite comedic moments was by the way, I think we should probably tell people we're getting into like spoilers now, like halfway through the movie or so.
Sure, we're kind of,
yeah, so like spoilers. But one of my favorite comedic bits, and they show a little bit of it in the trailer, where she goes like to Cole. Pretty much my favorite comedy in this movie is when she has to kind of handle being a former killer robot, and everyone is like terrified of this former killer robot. She's like, it's like, relax, guys, I'm not that anymore. I was just a little upset before.
It's like, it's just chilling. It was Monday.
And she goes up to one of the guys and she's like, listen, you remember when I tried to when I tried to brutally murder you? That was just because my programming only focused on Katie, and I only saw you as an obstacle. But now I want you to know, I see you. And he's like, okay. It's like it's one of those things like, from a robot, you'd be like, yeah, she probably thinks that's comforting, but to any regular person, you're just like, okay.
All right, she's gonna like bust that out for Katie's like prom date in high school or whatever.
Oh my god. Please, we need another M3gan just so that we can see that happen. But yeah, it's like, and then, they find out more, and then the plot of the movie does get a little convoluted, I think, towards the end.
Yeah, it kind of starts to spin its wheels a little because you have M3gan protecting Gemma et al. From Amelia, the army robot that the military have made to, be the next phase of, modern warfare or whatever. And then Amelia is looking for this, like, powerful, like, AI entity in Palo Alto or wherever it is that is the Xerox company. And more of the, like, yeah, you kind of get a lot of plate spinning. It's like, okay, like, maybe pick 2. In addition to, like, the family drama and everything there. It's just like, okay, well, there's a lot going on here. We don't need most of this.
Yeah, because Amelia is looking for this, like, this ancient 1970s, 1980s AI that's, like, killed humans, and it's been locked away. And in that time, it's kind of been, like, warping and rewriting itself over and over to become something, like, truly indescribable and super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's the MacGuffin. That's what we have to get. And M3gan tries to get it first, but then it's a trap because it turns out Gemma was dating this guy Christian who was all about cybersecurity, and it turns out he actually controls Amelia, and it was all a red herring so that they can make AI look bad, so that way they could get, like, better laws passed against it. But to do that, they had to hurt a lot of innocent people. Except he doesn't really control Amelia. He kind of does, but she also still has that stuff going on there. And there really is, like, that evil AI that they're just keeping around.
Mm-hmm. It's just a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think, like, at that point, it's kind of like, I would have wanted them to go, like, a little further with, like, how absurd it was. Like the guy who plays Christian, Aristotle Athari, I think. Atari, like Aristotle. I usually look up people's names, how to pronounce them. I'm so sorry, but yeah. So Christian, he is kind of fun as, like, a villain who has that kind of, like, everyman feel to him, where he's just like, he feels so much not like a villain that it's kind of comedic that he is the bad guy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he's very, like, milquetoast. It's not like this sort of, like, banality of evil kind of thing that they're going for, which, like, a more serious film might, like, that kind of character would work in some circumstances. But this is just, like, he's just, like, the most boring IT guy you know, but also he has, like, a harebrained scheme.
Yeah, it's like, and it kind of works for a joke there as well. But I think personally I would have loved to just, like, go full absurd, like, have the evil mastermind be, like, one of those, like, 1970s, 1980s really ancient robots.
Mm-hmm.
That's like,
go for that kind of angle. It's robots all the way down.
Yeah. Go, like, really to the next level with it. And I would have, like, genuinely loved this movie to no end. As it is, it feels like, I don't know, I could have gone a little bit further. And I hope that if there is a continuation of this, I really hope there is, that they will be bold enough to go even more absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think it's got ideas that it wants to explore vis-a-vis AI and stuff. And you're obviously welcome to do that, but I think it spends a lot of that time just kind of folding it into the whole Gemma character and her relationship to both like Megan and to Katie, but it's kind of just relitigating the same thing it did within this movie over and over, and then kind of also just inverting what the lesson of the previous film was. It's like, okay, like this isn't what should be driving the story, like, and I don't think not like you can't have it like go for like some kind of emotional core to a story like this, of course, but maybe spend more time fleshing that out if that's the angle you want to take, instead of just kind of essentially copy pasting the same scene like 4 times throughout the runtime.
I will say this, because I know you haven't seen the new Mission Impossible yet.
Mm-hmm. Not yet.
Because the new Mission Impossible also tried to have a message about AI. And I'm normally not the kind of person to, examine a message in a Mission Impossible movie, because that's not what those kinds of movies are trying to do.
Sure.
But it was trying to like dig into that a bit, and I think M3gan 2.0 actually did it better.
Well, there we go. It's ringing endorsement.
There we go. It's like because with the new Mission Impossible, the thing with AI, and this is like a big concern that's going around in a lot of circles at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's going on with AI is that I'm not as concerned about what the technology will become capable of, because a lot of stuff is like, oh, it was trying to turn stuff off. Like, that's bullshit. It's hot air.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned about how humans will interact with it, and how humans will use it, abuse it, misuse it.
Right.
And so, like, when Mission Impossible was like, oh, this AI is bad because an evil, scary AI will take over all of the nukes and try to exterminate us. It's like, no, it won't. When's the last time you think they updated those things? Whereas, like, with M3gan, first of all, M3gan 2.0 feels like, again, a bit more silly, so you're not going to, like, look into it as much. But I guess one thing with the twist that we did get about the boyfriend being evil and all that is just that, oh yeah, a human was messing with it and he used it for evil. Which is, again, still very absurd. I'm not going to be like, oh, this had a lot to say about AI. But It was closer.
Sure, and it's more human-centric, if you will, with the kind of almost eldritch or techno-eldritch angle of this, like, really far-gone AI that they truly don't want to release, because that would be something beyond whatever anyone could comprehend.
Yeah, it's... But, in the end, I think... this is just a very... This was a very fun movie. That's just kind of the long and short of it. It's like...
Yeah.
And again, spoiler alert, they'll leave it open for her to come back in the future.
It'll swing back to horror if she becomes Clippy.
Oh, no.
Truly the greatest computer villain of all time.
No, M3gan, don't turn everything into software as a service. No, my bank account can't handle it. No. No, that'd be too evil for her.
That'd be too much.
That'd be too much even for Amelia. That'd be too much even for the eldritch AI thing that they were trying to unleash. Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts of with the movie, things to talk about here?
Not really. I mean, it is kind of, I think, one fun little touch with, and I think it was intentional with Amelia. It was like they go to an AI convention where she's trying to, it's a set piece excuse to have them fight each other. But like, she has this like costume on. I think she was supposed to be some kind of other robot that she's disguised as, but she ends up like kind of looking like Maria from Metropolis with like the head spikes on the side or whatever. It's like, okay, that's probably a nod, I think. Just a fun little whatever. But importantly, if they do another like genre pivot for the third one, what do you want? I want a lesbian period drama set in 1850. Somehow.
I hope Celine Sciamma comes in to direct the next one.
Yeah, you get Noémie Merlan and call it good.
I will say this. So the who was this again? Ivanna Sakhno.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I normally look up these names for the pronunciation. Who played Amelia? I'm pretty sure that was just her. Like, there wasn't like any kind of like necessarily effects to like her anything. She just acted very robotically in a way that I was like, that's actually really cool how she pulled that off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a lot of fun. Very like interesting physical performance.
Yeah. I would say my favorite, because again, like, there's all kinds of different robots in this movie. My favorite has to be when they first go into the secret bunker that Megan built, and they see like her leftover form and everything, and she's just like pushing herself on a cart and has like 3 claw arms and everything. That was my favorite appearance.
It was very like Sid toy from Toy Story or something.
But it was also, again, like the commitment to the practical effects, the fact that you could tell that they actually built these robots and everything in a lot of key scenes. I really appreciated that. There's a lot of cool stuff in this movie that I was like, oh wow. This is
robot or like a person doubling as them.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Fun time.
I think that's a good place to kind of leave off. Thank you for joining me tonight, Reynard. And for all of you listening here, thank you so much for joining us as well. If you want to see more of us, you can see me at Danny Goldhorn on YouTube.
And I'm Reynard/cinema on Tumblr.
We'll see you all next time. You take care.
Bye.